Metal Gear Solid is an excellent stealth game franchise, which features predominantly on my channel. In fact, it's great, but I like this. I'm a fan and connoisseur of stealth games, as I do like to say so myself, and I would be lying if I said I didn't love Dishonored. When the game came out, it really put the steampunk as a whole on the map. The art style and direction was excellent, the story serviceable, the gameplay riveting and excellent. A true immersive sandbox that lets you tackle missions however you want. It created a truly unique world which responded to your actions accordingly. Were you playing non-lethal? The streets were cleaner and less dangerous. Killing everyone you see? Things would get dark and downright chaotic. Wanted posters with your face on it, and many such cases. The game came out in 2012, and even back then, the textures didn't look that great in certain areas. It had this diffused cartoonish look, and at the time I didn't think much of it. As I ran it on my old laptop, which even by those standards, it was pretty shit. Think HD 4000 levels of performance. That being said, imagine my surprise when consoles got a nice little remaster for the game, adding better ambient occlusions, textures, and parallax, whilst we get the same old 2012 PC version of the game. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it is dated by today's standards in some regards, and it could do with a little facelift. I mean, shit, if they sold it as some sort of £10 or £15 remaster, I would buy it. Yes, I know remasters are bad, but sometimes they provide a superior experience, and it would be nice to have those bells and whistles as they do look nice. Those versions are locked to 30 FPS on consoles for some reason, whereas the PC version runs above 120 FPS at all times, but I digress. With all this said, I've come up with a solution to this exact problem. That wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for the modders, so a big thank you and credit to everyone who provided them mods here. We'll be turning the PC version of the game from this to this.
Have initiated the Feast of Painted Kettles until a new High Overseer is chosen.
Using a handful of mods. First and foremost, a massive overhaul mod called D1 Fix, which serves as a sort of prelude and combination fix for Dishonored, providing massive improvements to textures as well as unofficial bug fixes. This should be installed first before anything else, and it will lay the groundwork and foundations for modding. If I recall correctly, this mod is still being worked on and receiving updates, so make sure you check back very often. And my heart and appreciation goes out to the modder working on this, as well as everyone involved, because they've done an excellent job compiling these fixes and improving the textures beyond what the game defaults to. Do keep in mind though that this is fully manual, so you actually have to drag and drop files into your game repositories manually. Thankfully, if you know at least basic modding, it is very straightforward and there are instructions that are provided with it. Secondly, we will install the HD texture pack. This mod makes the blurry textures and ghastly looking textures, at least some of them, and enhances them by ×2, so the game looks a lot less pixelated and blurry from up close. I gotta say that I like the way these textures look because they look fairly natural and not AI upscaled. There's none of this fuzziness or with the bloating that happens when AI upscales textures. It's what they should have looked like if the game got a remaster. But this HD texture pack is not everything. There is an optional mod which I think looks great, and that is a high quality player arms. It does exactly as it says, so I won't be elaborating on it. Now for Reshade, which I think is optional, but I very highly recommend it, I chose Dishonored Graphics Remastered. It makes certain colors darker, but it adds a nice sharpening effect that really makes the textures pop, and it makes them really crisp and adds all sorts of details. If the colors being dark is an issue, you can easily adjust the reshade to your liking. I cannot overstate how much better this reshade makes the visuals. The textures by default look sort of blurry, as if drawn by a paintbrush, which is okay even with the texture mod, but the effect is still there. So when you toggle the reshade on and off, there is a big difference in quality. Now the reshade totally removes that blurring and makes the textures really pop, like really pop. You can walk up close to the texture, toggle it on and off, and you'll see the details popping. Now I do highly recommend you install this over the vanilla game, and you just toggle off a couple of the settings to your preference, or a couple of the effects at least to your preference, so that it doesn't affect the lighting, so that you still get the vanilla lighting, which I believe is great, especially on an OLED monitor. I mean, just look at this comparison before and after. It is night and day, to the point where turning reshade off makes the game feel like a smeared Vaseline image. I very highly recommend this. With the visuals now out of the way, it's time for a gameplay overhaul. You see, there are two mods you can still install to improve and tweak your gameplay. Now, on one hand, you have Dishonored Vanilla Plus, a more fair and balanced experience that enhances your powers to an acceptable extent. And then on the other hand, Enhanced Powers mod, which is what I would expect a true New Game Plus to look like. Pure balls to the wall, overpowered and crazy, and it's very fun. The choice is yours and yours alone to make, but both links are in the description, so there you go. Now what about Daud and his blink? You know, one thing I think Dishonored 1 missed, especially in the single player campaign, was the ability to just freeze time as you blink. I mean, that shit, when it was added to Dishonored 2, it was the whole game changer. You could jump in one direction, freeze time, blink, and jump into another direction. It was great. It's a shame they never backported this into the main campaign. Or did they? Let's see. None of these powers mods unfortunately have Daud's blink ability that lets you freeze time and blink, which is a shame because it is incredible, and I really like the way it worked in both DLC and D2. That being said, there is a way to achieve this in the main campaign, which is this: the Player's Daud mod in Dishonored 1. This lets you play the entire campaign of Dishonored 1 as Daud with his powers. Now, from what I can imagine, or from what I can hear as well, is that it is buggy, but it works. So try this at your own, I forgot the word. Anyways, I do have to emphasize that I really like the Enhanced Powers mod, because it lets you choose and do insane shit like teleporting across the entire map, and it makes you realize these maps are actually fairly tiny, but it also opens up new pathways for stealth and infiltration that weren't possible before, as us having the rest of the powers at your disposal. Yes, it may be a bit OP, but I do not recommend it for a first time playthrough. If it's a remaster, the chances are you're probably playing the game for the second time, so go balls to the wall with it, have fun. And if it is your first time playing, you do not have to install this. That's what makes modding so beautiful. Now, with that being out of the way, you should now have a fully remastered version of Dishonored that is fully playable and looks nice. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. A like and subscription would go a long way, so if you use this, I would appreciate any sort of support on this video. Thank you very much. Peace.